Hey there, this is Ronald Lee. I am a commercial photographer in Vancouver, and today I'm going to do a screencast of some retouching I've done on a shoot to edit shoot I did recently. So basically, I've been photographing lots of models, and I do process the images that I shoot for the ones that I release. And what I wanted to do is give you guys a glimpse of what I do when I post-process images when it comes to glamour and beauty. So basically, I do a lot of Photoshop and Lightroom, of course, and I use a few other special tools as well sometimes. So my business is called 8 Visuals. That's the name that I do my commercial photography under. And you might notice that we're looking at the Creative Photography Food Rooms and People meetup group page. Well, that's the group where I run a lot of events through as well, including a lot of these shoots that we do. So if you're in the Vancouver area, we do a lot of model shoots, a lot of food, as well as, we're trying to get more into discussions about photography, all aspects of photography, as well as, post-production. All right, so let's talk about this image. Basically, we had a model come in, Flora, to basically be photographed right before the editing session. So we would photograph her in the room and immediately take the images into Lightroom and then into Photoshop. So here we're in Lightroom, and I've actually selected the images that we're going to be working on. And what I'm doing here is I'm showing you some of the work that I did previously before we started this screencast. So I did a whole bunch of things using the develop module before editing it in Photoshop, which is where we are now. And basically, the first thing I do when I start is I start looking at the skin, as well as the shape of features of her face, as well as looking at where all the blemishes are, any imperfections, any distractions. And then I make a mental note of that. And then I start working on the main features, which are usually the eyes, nose, and mouth first. So here I'm working on her lips, just putting some more shape to how she put on her lipstick. And I want to make the lip color a bit more rich. So what I'm doing here is that I'm making a new layer, and I'm going to be filling that selection with black, and then putting it into a special blend mode to really make this the colors deeper and richer. So here we are. So now it's just a matter of choosing the right blend mode, to make it look proper. And once we have that, I'm going through to maybe take away any blemishes on her lips using the clone stamp on Lighten. And then now I'm just softening the edges using a soft brush. There, I'm just cloning away some blemishes around her lip. After that, I usually work on the eyes, or I work on the eyes first. And there are a lot of ways to brighten the eyes. My favorite way is to put some white brush onto a new layer and then putting it into a soft, light, or overlay blend mode. Next, I will do the whites of the eyes. And usually that's just with a curves layer and just masking the eyes back in. So I usually, whenever I'm doing anything with brushing or masks, I usually use a low opacity. For an image like this, where, the face is a small part of the image, I usually will just lower the opacity. If it's a big glamour photo where her face is most of the image and her eyes are big, then I'll also lower the flow and just gradually build up and ease things in. Now, one thing about the model, Flora, her eyelash on her left eye is what's falling off. So, I could have drawn in a new eyelash. I could have tried to clone it in or maybe do some healing. But because both eyes are quite symmetrical for this image, it was easier just to copy the right eye eyelash and flip it around and basically blend it onto the left eye, which is what I'm doing here. So now I'm just continuing to work on the whites of the eyes and more blending of the eyelash onto her left eye. And now I'm doing the eyeliner. I find that eyeliner really helps to define the shape of an eye and make eyes stand out. We're looking at the image here at 200%. So, these actually are subtle improvements on the image that, you wouldn't really notice that are put in. And you might notice that I also tend to label the layers and group them as well. I do that because in the past I used to not do that, and I found that when I went back to deconstruct the images for people that I couldn't remember what I did, so now I make it a point to label everything. Okay, so now we're doing the eyeshadow. So basically choosing this dark maroon, which is from the scarf, because I know that when I blend it in, it'll be a light pink. And basically, I was deciding between, the sort of a dark black and red or the pink, and pink ended up being better. And once I found that I found a blending mold that worked, then I would go back into the eyeshadow and fill in the rest of it, just fine tune where the eyeshadow should be. Now I'm going to be adding some green to the end of the eyeshadow, and you'll see why I chose green in a second. So if I chose the maroon color and I'm blending it so that it ends up pink, that wouldn't work for me to keep the maroon color on the tips of the eyes, because I know that would turn pink as well, or I couldn't leave it as normal. So by using green and selecting, I believe, I can't remember which one I used, but end up using the opposite color, ended up giving him a nice maroon just like the scarf. And you saw there that I used Portraiture, the plugin, to do some skin softening. Great plugin. I'll talk about that at some point in the future probably. And now I'm just filling in the eyebrows and doing some dodge and burning, mostly burning around her face. So I find there's really two ways to give dimension to the face. It's either using really nice 3D lighting to shape the face in camera, or using dodge and burn to really lighten parts that are forward and you want to highlight, mostly in the center, and burning parts on the edges, because that makes her face narrower, slims her down and gives her a bit of a 3D effect. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm basically doing some I was doing some burning there, and now I'm using the healing brush to look in and remove any of these stray hairs. So anywhere that I see any stray hair over her face or in the hair that I know shouldn't be there, I'm going in there to do some cleanup. And then I'm going to fix and clean up the hair outside of the main model there. Now here, I'm working on, basically it's more or less a white background. I'm not really that picky with the hair out here, because I know I'm going to be doing something with it later on to smooth it out, and I won't be needing it. So here I don't mind using the clone stamp to completely clone back in some white over the hair. So now I'm just filling in, any of the parts of the hair that looks wispy, just to make it look fuller. And again, I'm not cloning at 100%. I'm using, in this case, 50%. So just doing some checking, making sure that we're okay. So basically I just made a group there for the retouch, and I stamp it just so I can keep working. What I'm doing here, I'm using the liquefy tool, which is one of Photoshop's secret weapons, and I'm putting back some shape onto the lower part of her clothing. The thing about some clothing, if it hangs straight down, you really lose shape, but it flatters the model to really put that shape back in. And what I'm doing here is I'm putting some curves back into Flora's image hair, which she naturally has. And here what I'm doing, I'm just curling the lips up a little bit and narrowing the nose just a little bit. You wouldn't really know the difference unless you had the images on top of each other, and the before and after. So these are subtle changes that you wouldn't really notice. It's all about small changes. So what I'm doing here is that I'm liquefying the hair. So this is where I'm giving it that smoothed out, went to the hairdresser before the shoot type look here. And doing a save. I probably should save more often. I actually lost a few long images by not saving and Photoshop crashing here and there. But sometimes, you just forget. So now what I'm doing is, what I had in mind for this concept was actually to photograph, her holding a scarf and putting the scarf behind her. I thought it'd look cool because I wanted texture behind her. Well, this idea didn't actually work. Now the reason is because the scarf itself didn't have enough texture. Everything was really soft on it, and usually it would work better if I had a better defined texture, more edges to it, or more contrast. So here I'm putting a mask on her just so we can see more of her face. And at this point the scarf is behind her, and I'm already noticing how it's kind of busy, kind of distracting from the model herself. But nonetheless, I'm continuing with this to see what it would look like. So I made a mask around her and just blending her into the back image now. So what this is, what I'm doing now, I'm putting a high pass filter on the back. Maybe that might bring out some texture, but it didn't really. So I ended up playing with the blend modes and choosing a lighter one just to have some separation between the model and the background. And here I'm just filling out the mask better. And I still didn't like it too much, it was still too busy with the pattern there. So I had the idea to put a black scarf behind her vertically. Maybe that would balance the picture a bit more by having some sort of anchor for us to draw our eyes to. So I meant to put this on the left hand side of the image, and wanted to blend it in as well, or rather put it behind her, so masking her out of it. And as you can see, it didn't really help. The same problem, basically. It didn't have enough texture, and the texture, the pattern that it did have, it really just started competing with the other scarf, the red one. But nonetheless, I just wanted to finish this and see what it would come out to, as this was originally what I was planning. And there, basically, I just drew the outline of the mask and filled it in by looking at the mask layer. And here I'm playing around with the hue and saturation of the image, seeing if I can improve that. And I wanted to maybe make it more contrasty, more black and white, but it didn't really help too much. So I thought maybe if I threw in something in front of her, maybe some sort of soft light column of, of some sort. So I'm using some grunge brushes here, and shoulder brush. And the idea here is to make this sort of like a soft lens flare. Figured maybe something yellow would be a great color for this. So again, I'm masking her face out just so that we can have a good look at her. And ended up choosing a gold colored hair. Gold color for that grunge area. And doing another save. And, so this is the image itself after we've done most of the editing. So just to, just to do a bit more to make it look a bit more complete, I thought maybe to put it behind a frame or clip it over some sort of frame. So here's a few that I've been using with from Graphic Authority, a really great company out of the States. And basically thought we would try this one here. And you can see it didn't quite work. I made the whole thing darker so I can add a vignette basically, and using my mask and my brush set at opacity 20, I built a vignette around her to show off her face and whatnot. And the whole thing just looked really, really busy. I thought it was too distracting from the actual model. So what I ended up doing is so here I'm just trying to mess with it to see if I can improve it, and ended up deciding that it was better just to leave it without the frame and the foreground and background. So here's the original image as shot from camera, and here is the edited image. So basically, if you look at both images here side by side, you'll notice some of the changes that we did. We did some changes to the model's face, as well as to the hair and to the bottom of the dress. And you might notice that I actually made the final image darker than the original image. Most people would go the other way. They would make the background white and have the model be on the white background. I went this way because, if you notice, her face does look, it does pop a bit better in this way. So I thought I'd go, do something different that's not conventional, and it worked. A few more things about this image. I did do two other steps that were not in the screencast. Basically, after I finished the screencast, I did a magazine sharpening process to it, as well as did a monochrome channel mix to even out the skin color saturation a bit. And regarding the skin, I struggled a bit with it because the model has basically really a unique look, and the skin color for her makeup was a little darker and orange, and it's not because of bad lighting or improper color cast, because if you look at the skin color on her forearm, it's correct. Basically, the foundation she was using was a little darker, and it looked good for her, actually, quite good. That's why I left it in. I know some glamour people probably would to totally desaturate the face and make it look white, the same as the forearm, but I tried to keep the image looking as close to original as I can. So this is the final image that we came up with, and basically this process itself took a bit longer than it should have, and I ended up throwing away the second half of the edit, but I would say the results are pretty good here. So again, this is Ronald Lee. My commercial photography business is Eat Visuals. You can contact me if you have any questions about this at www.eatvisuals.com or info@eatvisuals.com. And you can also reach me at the Creative Photography for Meetup group in Vancouver. If you're in the area, please come check us out. We do a lot of events, and we welcome all levels of photographers to come. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this screencast, and we will see you next time.